Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. It all started a few days before New Year's Eve. Olivia, my wife of 7 years, sat across from me at the breakfast table, scrolling through her phone. She had that excited look in her eyes, the one she got when she had big plans. "Michael, did I tell you about the company's New Year's Eve party?" she asked, barely glancing up. "You mentioned it," I replied, sipping my coffee. "I thought we agreed to skip it. We had our own plans. A quiet evening together, remember?" She sighed and put down her phone. "I know, but it's not just a party. It's a chance for networking and everyone's going to be there. I can't skip it without looking bad in front of my boss." I raised an eyebrow. "You don't even like these things, and we've been looking forward to our night. Why is this party so important all of a sudden?" She hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her mug. "I just think it's good for my career, Michael. And honestly, you can come too. It'll be fun." "I don't know, Olivia. Crowded rooms and schmoozing aren't exactly my idea of fun," I said. "Besides, it's New Year's. Let's just be together. Isn't that what matters?" The conversation spiraled from there, as these things often do. She insisted. I objected. Voices rose. Finally, she threw her hands up. "Fine. If you don't want to come, then don't. But I'm going. You can't make me feel guilty for trying to do something for my career." I stared at her for a long moment, anger simmering beneath my skin. "Oh, all right, whatever. If it's that important to you, you can go," I muttered. "Thanks for understanding, Michael," she said, her voice sharp. But I didn't understand. Not at all. On New Year's Eve evening, Olivia and I sat together at our carefully prepared table. Her company's party wasn't scheduled until 2 a.m., a deliberate choice so employees could spend the turn of the year with their families before heading out to celebrate. The dining room was lit by the soft glow of candles, their flickering light reflecting off the champagne glasses. I had made her favorite dinner, seared salmon with a citrus glaze, and we shared stories and laughs as we always did. For a moment, it felt like everything was as it should be. As the clock ticked closer to midnight, Olivia reached for my hand across the table. "Here's to another year together," she said softly, her eyes shimmering with a mixture of love and something I couldn't quite place. "To another year," I replied, clinking my glass with hers. For a while, we just sat there, enjoying the quiet magic of the moment. But the spell broke when she glanced at the clock. "I should start getting ready," she said, standing and gathering the plates. As she got dressed, I stayed in the living room, flipping through channels on the TV. When she finally came down, she was stunning. Olivia wore a sparkling navy blue dress that hugged her curves in a way that made me feel both proud and uneasy. I swallowed back the strange knot in my stomach. It was just a party, I told myself. She leaned down and kissed my cheek, her perfume lingering in the air. "Don't wait up," she said with a smile. "Happy New Year, honey." "Happy New Year," I replied, forcing a smile as she walked out the door. The house felt eerily quiet after she left, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I told myself I was being ridiculous, that I had no reason to worry. She'd be home soon. It was just a work party. After all, we had just welcomed the new year together. What could possibly go wrong? But deep down, I had no idea how much that night would change everything. The hours ticked by as I sat in the dimly lit living room, mindlessly flipping through channels. The muffled laughter of partygoers on TV felt like mockery, a sharp contrast to the emptiness of the house. By 1:30 a.m., my eyelids grew heavy. I turned off the TV and climbed into bed, the house unnervingly quiet. The faint ticking of the clock on the wall only deepened the stillness. Then, in the middle of the night, my phone rang, jolting me awake. The room was pitch dark save for the faint glow of the screen. My heart skipped a beat as I grabbed it, squinting at the time. 3:30 a.m. The name on the screen made my stomach flip. It was Jack, Olivia's coworker. Jack wasn't just some name from Olivia's workplace. We'd gone out to dinner once or twice as couples, Olivia and me with Jack and his wife Emma. We weren't close friends, but I'd always liked him well enough. When Jack's name popped up on my phone at 3:30 a.m., my first thought was that something serious had happened, probably at the party. Jack wasn't the type to reach out without a good reason, especially not at 3:30 a.m. I answered, my voice groggy but tense. "Hey Jack, what's going on? It's late." There was a pause, and then Jack's hesitant voice came through. Yeah. Happy New Year, Michael. Listen, man, I hate to call you like this, but I thought you should know something. My grip on the phone tightened and I sat up in bed, fully awake now. What is it? It's Olivia, he said cautiously. She's with Mr. Wallace right now, her boss. What do you mean with him? I asked, my voice icy. They've been close all night, laughing, touching. I didn't think much of it at first, but then they disappeared together. I followed them and they went into his office, alone. The world spun. My mind screamed for me to deny it, but I couldn't ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. You're sure about this? Yeah, man, I'm sorry. I thought you'd want to know. I didn't respond. I hung up without another word, my hands trembling as I swung my legs over the side of the bed and grabbed my keys. I drove to her office, the streets eerily empty as I sped through the dark, my mind racing faster than the car. The only sound was the pounding of my heart, each beat a mix of rage and dread. I had no idea what I was about to walk into, but I knew I couldn't sit at home and do nothing. I arrived at the building within 10 minutes, the engine of my car barely cooling as I parked in the empty lot. The party was still going on, the muffled sound of music and laughter spilling from the entrance as I approached. Jack was waiting near the elevators. Michael, he whispered, looking pale. Where are they? I asked through clenched teeth. He nodded toward the corridor. They're still in his office, end of the hall. I didn't waste a second. My legs carried me down the hallway, though each step felt heavier than the last. When I reached Wallace's office, I froze. The door was closed, but the blinds were slightly parted, offering a narrow view inside. My heart hammered in my chest as I peered through the crack, desperate to confirm what I already feared. For a moment, there was only silence, and then I heard it. Olivia's voice, soft at first, then unmistakable. A moan. My stomach twisted. I pulled my phone from my pocket, hands trembling, and hit the record button. I could feel the weight of the moment, the act of capturing this betrayal, somehow both surreal and painfully necessary. Without thinking, I pushed open the door, bursting into the room. And there they were. Olivia, perched on the edge of the desk, and Wallace standing between her knees. Their lips met in a kiss that shattered the last pieces of my heart. Olivia, I said, my voice cutting through the air like a knife. She jumped, her eyes wide with shock. Michael, what the hell is this? I demanded, my voice filled with rage. Wallace backed away, his face flushed and panicked. This isn't what it looks like, he stammered. Is that so? What do you think I am, blind or stupid? I snapped, the anger in my chest erupting like a volcano. I see exactly what's going on. You're screwing my wife. Michael, I can explain, Olivia began, tears already welling in her eyes. Explain? I barked, my voice trembling with fury. You want to explain why you're fooling around with your boss while I'm at home waiting for you? Go ahead, Olivia. Enlighten me. She stepped toward me, her hands raised as if to calm me. It was a mistake. I had a couple of drinks and Wallace and I were just enjoying the party. One thing led to another, and it happened. It didn't mean anything. Didn't mean anything? I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow and broken. You threw away 7 years of marriage for nothing? That's your excuse? It was unbelievable. They didn't even try to hide their faces when I was recording. No shame. Nothing. Then Wallace cleared his throat nervously. Maybe we should— Shut up, I snarled, turning my glare on him. Is my wife the only employee you're screwing, or do you make a habit of this? You're disgusting. I shoved my phone into my pocket, and without thinking, I lashed out. I swept my arm across his desk, sending papers, a laptop, and a framed photo crashing to the floor. Wallace flinched, raising his hands defensively. Whoa, calm down, man, Wallace said, his voice shaking. But I wasn't calm. I was far from it. Before he could take another breath, I swung my fist and struck him square in the face. Wallace staggered backward, colliding with the desk before collapsing to the floor. Michael, stop! Olivia screamed, tears streaming down her face as she grabbed at my arm. I shook her off and moved toward Wallace again, my fist clenched. Before I could get another hit in, Jack burst into the office. Michael, stop it, man! Jack shouted, rushing toward me. He grabbed me by the shoulders, pulling me back with surprising strength. This isn't worth it. Don't throw your life away over this piece of trash. Wallace groaned from the floor, blood trickling from his nose. "You're crazy," he muttered. "Crazy?" I snapped, still seething. "You're lucky I don't make you regret this even more." Jack stepped between us, his hand firmly on my chest. "Let it go, Michael. He's not worth it. Let the lawyers deal with him." Breathing hard, I turned away from Wallace and looked at Olivia. She stood there trembling, her face pale and streaked with tears. "We're done," I said, my voice cold and final. "First thing next week, I'll be filing for divorce." "Michael, please," she pleaded, her voice trembling. "I love you. I made a mistake, but we can fix this." "Enough," I snapped, cutting her off. "I don't want to hear another word from you. My lawyer will call you soon." Without another glance at either of them, I stormed out of the office, Jack following close behind. When I got home, the house felt like a stranger's. I couldn't stand to be there, surrounded by the memories we'd built together. I packed a suitcase with whatever clothes I could find, barely thinking, and left. I drove to a hotel and checked in, the silence of the room swallowing me whole. I sat on the edge of the bed for a while, letting the weight of everything settle in. Then, with cold resolve, I transferred every dollar from our joint accounts into my personal one. If Olivia wanted to play games, I wasn't going to make it easy for her. 2 days later, I contacted a divorce attorney. I wanted everything done quickly and cleanly, with no chance for reconciliation. The evidence on my phone, combined with Jack's eyewitness account, made the case airtight. I filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery, ensuring Olivia would walk away with as little as possible. The news of the scandal spread quickly through Olivia's workplace. I decided to sue Wallace and the company for fostering an inappropriate work environment. Jack backed me up, providing evidence of Wallace's history of unethical behavior. The case made headlines, and Wallace resigned in disgrace. It turned out Olivia wasn't the only one. Several other women came forward with similar stories. A few days after Wallace's resignation, Olivia quit too. She tried reaching out to me several times in the weeks that followed, leaving tearful voicemails and sending long apologetic texts. I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. The divorce was finalized within 3 months. Olivia moved out of the house, and I sold it soon after. It was too full of ghosts to ever feel like home again. It wasn't easy to move on. The betrayal cut deeper than I ever imagined possible, and for a while, it felt like I'd never trust anyone again. But time has a way of healing wounds, even the deepest ones. Jack and Emma stayed in touch with me, checking in from time to time. Their support meant more than I could put into words. One evening, about a year after the divorce, I ran into someone new, someone who reminded me that love doesn't have to be pain. She was kind, funny, and honest, and for the first time in a while, I felt hope. As for Olivia, she moved to another state to start fresh. After that, I never heard from her again. It was probably for the best. Sometimes, distance is the only way to truly heal. I don't know if I'll ever fully understand why Olivia did what she did, but one thing's clear. I couldn't pretend everything was fine, not after all that had happened. It was the hardest decision I've ever made, but I knew staying would only destroy me in the end. So, I walked away, even when it felt like my world was falling apart. And looking back, I realized that the toughest choices often lead to the most unexpected and ultimately better paths. Thank you for watching.